Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. John C. Maxwell. Do you ever feel misunderstood?
Some sort of kitchen utensil? Cactus? Is it a person?
Wait, is that our mailman?
Ryan Seacrest.
Is it the Mars rover?
Attila the Hun?
Oh, a map of North Dakota.
No, South Dakota.
Oh, Burger King.
Cactus?
No, he said
You
cactus.
said that. Oh, I see. It's Darth Vader.
Mario Lopez.
Contact me today for a world-class communication training. There are no secrets to success. It is the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure. I find that the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. The successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus. I never dreamed about success. I worked for it. As we go about our daily lives, we experience all kinds of influences from the outside world. We are inundated with countless frequencies flying through the air and invading our awareness. How can we possibly hope to counteract these influences that enter through our senses 24 hours a day? Rather than being unaware of the negative, complaining about it, or trying to fight it, why not just notice once and for all that you hold the control?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, assalamu alaikum, namaskar, wherever you are. This is your friend Dr. Faz with a new mini summit, which we do every month with all my colleagues here, thought leaders here, and we are going to speak about how to become a person of influence. This is a topic which is really close to my heart because everything rises and falls on leadership. And leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So, how to become a person of influence so we can impact on rest of the world, in our neighborhood, in our community, in our country, in our village, wherever we are, we need to be influencing them. This world, especially after this COVID-19, this adverse situation, the frustration and confusion and all these rejections and dejections, we need more leaders, more influencers around us. So why not you? Why you can't be an influencer? So let's learn from these thought leaders how to become a person of influence. Today we have a great speakers lined up. We have a speaker from United Kingdom. We have a speaker from United States. We have a speaker from Great India, as well as we have a speaker from Canada. So we'll be talking about the same subject. I believe you guys have a pen and paper ready to take a lot of notes because note takers are money makers. Keep in mind. So you want to be successful, you want to make money, take some notes. And these are the leaders. Usually they don't give their wisdom and knowledge easily and freely. It's very difficult to bring them on a stage and request them so they can share their wisdom to everyone. So it's an opportunity for all of us to learn from these thought leaders, and we can learn because, again, my mantra is nobody knows everything, but everybody knows something. So we have to learn from each other, and especially when they are thought leaders, when they are thinkers, they are scholars, they have experiences of their life, they have studied so many things in their life. We have to listen them. They want to share their story. Listen those stories because those are going to be a virtual mentoring for yourself. So you can avoid those hurdles and hassles which you can go through in this pathway of your life. You can avoid those. So let's get started. Let me start from our first speaker. She is from United Kingdom. She's been Toastmaster for over a year, and she within a year she climbed up to the area director, and she became the co-chair and for the Hearts of Ace. She's also a member of the local government there in United Kingdom. She's a good friend of mine. She's a great speaker, and last but not the least, I would like to mention she is a dreamer. And she dreams big. She lives in her dream. She grows in her dream. And that's the only thing we need, those kind of positive and optimistic people around us. So help me welcome my friend from all the way from United Kingdom, Natalie Jen Thomas. Natalie Jen Thomas.
Hi.
The stage is yours. Natalie, are you ready? Can you hear me?
Hi, Dr. Buzz. I'm there. How are you?
Okay.
Seems we have some technical problems going on at the moment. Hopefully Dr. Faz will be here in a moment.
If we have a technical issue, just do you need more time?
No, I'm good. I wasn't sure if I was waiting for you, but I can happily get the party started. Hi, everybody. My name is Natalie Jane Thomas, and as Dr. Faz said, I am based in the United Kingdom. I live on the Isle of Wight, which is a really small island just south of the mainland. I am a mum. I've got 2 children. I've got a 6-year-old and a 15-year-old. And as Dr. Faz mentioned, I've been a Toastmaster since June 2020. And I came across Toastmasters by sheer chance. I was watching something on YouTube and it was talking about motivational speaking. And I thought, I've got to have a look at this. And all of a sudden, I was like, I need this in my life. Fast forward a year later, I'm now the president of 3 clubs, and they're not in the United Kingdom, which makes the challenge a little bit harder, but anything is possible if you put your mind to it. And as Dr. Faz mentioned, I'm an area director of Area 22 in District 27, which is also based in the United States. I'm the co-chair of Hearts of Ace National Council of Lived Experience, which is connected to the UK charity Wave Trust. I'm going to talk about that slightly later, but the main question is, how do we become a person of influence? So as a mum, I get to see social media all the time, and I get to see a lot of the negative stories. And lately, there's been a lot of influence, but it's done in the wrong way. Social media is something so big and powerful, and here in the United Kingdom, it has seen a dramatic increase of people who want to try and influence others, but they do it for the wrong reasons. For example, I was watching something on the internet, and it said about these youths trashing the local supermarket to get extra likes and follows on social media. But my mind's thinking to myself, why? Why are people going to these extents to try and influence people the wrong way? I think to myself, as a parent, surely your childhood and embracing your childhood for the way it should be is more important. Because at the end of the day, your childhood is the foundations for your adulthood years, and that should surely be a higher priority. I personally believe and feel that you can become a person of influence by staying true to yourself and just embracing who you are. And it's really, really important in such a dramatic world that we embrace and showcase our strengths and even our weaknesses, because people will happily respect you and admire you as that individual if you're open and honest. For example, if you turn around and say you're having a bad day, it shows you are human, because social media right now is teaching young people to be somebody else, because we all see the power and influence of Instagram, for example, and it's teaching these children and young people that they've got to be like an Instagram model. But as a parent, I kind of think, why? Embrace who you are. Be the leader you know you can be. Because this is something right now I'm doing with my daughter, is showing her how to become a leader, because it's not going to be in the national curriculum. So I, as that leader, turn around and go, okay, let's teach you the things that will help you in the long term. There are other ways in which you can become a person of influence. And now I'm going to share parts of my story with you. I am an adult survivor of child abuse. You might have heard the term adverse childhood experiences, but what this simply is is people who have experienced violence, abuse, neglect, or they might have witnessed violence in the home or in the community, or they might have a family member attempt or commit suicide. Your instant reaction, if you've experienced any sort of trauma, is to think your life's over, it's a write-off, it's in the bin. And to be fair, that's how I felt for a good long part of my life. But over the last couple of years, I have put the time, energy, and dedication in to absolutely spin my mindset into something completely different. And it's allowed me to see that, yes, I've got trauma scars, but when you see them differently, it's made me understand, it's made me the woman I am. Often people are drawn to stories of strength, of how an individual can overcome such adversities. When you're talking to a live audience, the audience don't need to know exactly what happened to you because they're going to switch off. What an audience wants to know is, how did you overcome that trauma? What strategies did you put in place which allowed you to remain tall and to keep standing? I openly talk about my personal struggles because it is really important to show the world we're all human at the end of the day. Because like today, there's people from different countries and we've got one thing in common: we're all human. And it is often when you share those personal stories with the world and when you share those struggles, it shows you how strong you are as a character. There's been a really big push here in the United Kingdom around mental health and mental health support. And there's been a lot of hashtags going, it's okay to not be okay, which is allowing people to openly talk about their mental health, because it is really important to talk and get that help that you need. So going back to the start of my presentation, I mentioned that I am the co-chair of Hearts of Ace, National Council of Lived Experience. This is connected to the UK charity Wave Trust, and it is our mission to be the authentic voice of trauma throughout the United Kingdom. And we want to provide the opportunity for members of the council and its associates to share their lived and living experience. Because at the end of the day, when you go through something, it's gold. Those experiences can change other people's lives. We are calling on all relevant government officials, agencies, partnerships, and local organisations to start a national conversation around trauma-based lived experience, when no one will get left behind. Our collective goal is to use this wealth of personal experience and personal knowledge to change government policies and practice. As a group, we are currently seeing that many organisations are still not looking through the collect lens. You often find those people who know very little about mental health problems or anything connected to trauma, but they are often the people that make the decisions, and they are the decisions that often impact future generations and the general population. There is also another way you can become a person of influence, and I am at the very beginning of this journey of influence, and that is becoming involved in politics. In May 2021, here in the United Kingdom, we had our local government elections. So within local government, you've got two tiers. You've got the local level and you've got the county level. And I sat and I thought, was I ready? Should I do this? I sat on the fence and I questioned, could I do it right now? But then I had a couple of people coming up to me going, nah, you can do this. But then I was like, no, I can't do this. And it was one woman who turned around and said, "Nat, we need more women. Can you help?" I was like, okay then. So I threw my hat into the virtual ring and I thought, yeah, I am going to stand in the local government elections. So in the county election, I came fourth, but for my first ever attempt, I was absolutely blown away with that response. Within the local government elections, I was elected as a local parish councillor because of the style of voting that was happening in the local community. Here in the United Kingdom, there is a movement called 50-50 Parliament, which sees and would like to see a 50% increase of women in Parliament by the year 2030, because at the moment, females are underrepresented in Westminster, and you often think, how can men truly understand what goes on for women, mums, grandparents, daughters, sisters, when you're not a woman? So this was one of the reasons why I thought, yes, I am going to stand up and do what I know I can do, and that is empower other people. I decided when I signed that form that I would be taking the biggest leap of faith that I've probably ever done in my life. But I look at it that now I can use my voice in the community and I can get people talking. Because at the end of the day, in my local council, I am the youngest. But as that person of influence, I can turn around to other people my age and even younger, and I can go, if you believe and want to see these changes that you know you can change, stand up for what you believe in. And I honestly believe that as a trauma survivor, you can inspire and empower other people. And I ultimately believe in society, we need to ensure that the growing diverse population is represented correctly. I also want to show all the trauma survivors that you have got the power to make a difference. Because at the end of the day, I have multiple ACEs, yet I am making a difference in my local community and within the National Hearts of ACE community. A lot of people sometimes might think you have to have bucket loads of money to be an influential person. But I personally think that is just a complete load of rubbish. You can be a person of influence if you have a story, if you've got the determination, if you've got the willpower, if you've got the dedication and the time to put the effort in, and ultimately the passion, you also can be someone like me. Thank you, Dr. Faz.
Thank you very much, Natalie. What a great input and what a great story you have. Definitely, you are an inspiration for millions of people around, and they are watching and they are going to watch later on, and they definitely get inspired. Just keep it up. You are a great, true leader. You're a serving leader, and you are paying the price. The bottom line is you're paying the toll to going through this journey, and there is nothing free outside, no free lunch outside. So if you have to pay the price to get to be an influencer and to be a leader and to get your success in your life. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate for participation, and it's always amazing to have certain friends from different part of the world together talking on the same subject and same topic. So I truly appreciate your this effort, and on behalf of Learn to Grow Rich organization, as a president, I would like to just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Faz.
Okay, guys, you heard from United Kingdom how you can become a person of influence. You heard a great story. She how she made it, and she is still on her journey to the success, because success is a journey, it's not a destination. She achieved couple milestones, and she is going to the next and to the next and to the next, and this journey is going to go on and on and on. Now we have an other great thought leader which I am totally inspired by in last couple weeks with his wisdom, knowledge, and studies. He has a great story. He's a great influencer, and he speaks so well, and he speaks so, I can say, comprehensively on these subjects. And this is a great subject. I thought that he will be the best speaker on that, because we are talking about how to become a person of influence. And I believe this gentleman, who's been going through his success journey and influential personality journey, and he minutely studied the human beings, and I can say he has such a great knowledge and wisdom. So let's get that piece of that pie and piece of that wisdom which he has. Please help me welcome my friend, a great thought leader, born in Pakistan, living in United States of America, went through so many challenges, from a naughty boy to a scholar. My friend, brother Ejaz Wani. Welcome Ejaz Wani to the stage.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. You have put me on a very high pedestal on your. So what you described about me, yes, success is the journey and not a destination, and I'm on it, and I'm going to be continue to be on it. Actually, I love this subject. How can we become a person of influence? The only thing I will add, how can I become the person of a positive influence? You're going to have influence on people one way or another. Now, what does it mean? Now, to me, it's an action exerted to cause a change. It's that action you exerted that brought a certain change within your immediate environment. Okay. Now, the change is imminent. You know, that's a constant thing in our universe. We are constantly changing throughout our lives. And to me, this whole idea of influencing people is very near and dear heart to me. I am very much into helping people. That is one of my biggest passion on every single day. What can I do today that might bring a better today for that individual than yesterday, or a better tomorrow than today? And I'm on a constant journey. Why? I was one of those guys who needed help more than three decades ago, and I was being helped. And the help that was rendered to me is brought me where I am today. Okay. Now, this subject is very, 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 very deep, and there are so much is being written on the subject of influence, which is actually pertaining to the quality. It's one of the quality pertaining to the leadership. Okay. And I'm going to take a slightly different twist. It's as one of the book actually I read by Mr. Hubbard. Okay. And to me, leadership is an art. What does it mean to me? Okay. Now, according to Mr. Hubbard, art is the word which summarizes the quality of communication. It therefore follows the laws of communication. What does that mean to me? Now, communication is the interchange of ideas between two people. It's the interchange of ideas and things between two people, and it is the only universal solvent. Communication has a cost point, and it has an effect point. Cause point where the communication is originated, and effect point is where the communication is being received. At the cause point, we have the intention, the person who is delivering communication, and we have intention on the part of the deliverer of that communication. At the receipt point, we have the individual intention to receive communication and is paying attention to the cause, but it has two additional elements that are the utmost importance in this whole law of communication. That's duplication and understanding. Like if art is the word that summarizes the quality of communication, right? So if somebody becomes too much original, we see these people who appears to be very unique, like too original. And what that originality does to the audience, it takes that audience out of communication with the speaker or with that individual. Now, originality is the enemy of duplication. Where you have too much originality in communication, you're trying to be really, really unique and very expert, and you have these special jargon you use, and it actually brings your audience totally out of communication. You will not be able to effectively communicate with your audience unless you bring yourself down to their level, where they are able to duplicate what is being said. The influence you are trying to bring, it starts with yourself. The things you do influences you. Okay? No matter what you do, it basically influences you. Now, whatever change happens to you, it actually brings a progress, that happens outside of your world. You are basically the change you are bringing within yourself. It's basically you are, bringing that change in the outside world. And where and one should start the influence. Okay, I would go from yourself. You start with yourself. How would you influence yourself? How you take care of yourself. What kind of a music do you listen? What kind of a videos do you watch? What kind of books do you read? What kind of the people you hang around with. And all those things creates an influence on yourself. And if you are hanging around people who are completely failure, so what kind of an influence that those things will bring to you, And if you are not reading or watching something pro-survival and constructive, how would it influence you in a good or a bad way? Because before you can influence other people, so the influence starts with you. How are you going to influence yourself? The thing you have to take responsibility for on a personal level. Then comes a family unit where we have observed whatever our parents do, it greatly influences us. One of the biggest influence we have, it starts with a family unit, and it's the area we need to educate people on and invest our time to bring that family unit, which is the very foundation of the society, the pivotal, it's the axle. It's one thing that the entire society basically based on. And how those things we see within our family has influences us. Okay, let's say if the parents are fighting with each other and yelling at each other, how would that influence that children? What kind of an influence that will bring to that child? Okay, and imagine if the child grew up in certain environment, and his influence, it's a ripple effect, and then it's going to pass generations to generations to generations to generations. So the influence you want to bring to the society, you have to manifest in yourself. The things I've observed over the years, I'll just give this one example, and I've quoted that several times. So the father yelled at his son, "Sit down." don't move from here. And you are grounded. You haven't done your homework. Sit down and do your homework. And what that child does, now, the intention of the father was to help that child to do his homework, or, do, whatever he has to do in regards to his study, right? Now, his child sits down and he grabs this book and he's staring at that book. And he's not studying it. He's absolutely not studying it. The influence that father has created on that child is going to go past the generations. It's going to continue to pass on to generation. Our actions, we exert in our immediate vicinities will determine what kind of a change we expect to have in our immediate vicinity, within ourselves, within our family, within the town and the city we live in. And it's a ripple effect that goes down to generations to generations to generation. We are living in a very fragile planet, I would say. And we have observed there's a great leadership crisis. Okay. And how did we get to that point? I was seeing that the Gallup survey, that 88% of the people in the workforce, the organization they work for, they say they don't care for them. And that's a startling number. Okay, when you are working in an organization where you believe the senior executive or the owner, the CEO doesn't care for you, what kind of influence we have those employees? Okay. 75% people are totally disengaged with what they are doing. Almost 71 to 75% teachers are disengaged with what they are doing. And imagine the same teachers who are basically educating the today's generation, and what kind of leadership we are producing. How are we going to have a future where people are so disengaged, not only with themselves, but with their family, with their employees? It's what kind of future we are envisioning. I don't think we have a bright future unless we change this mindset. And it's going to start with ourselves, to correct ourselves, to look inside. What improvement can you do on yourself? How can you increase all those skills and tools you can put to use to actually influence your immediate society? You have to take your initiative. And I believe communication is one of the biggest skill. It is the only universal solvent which is capable of solving anything. It is the communication gets solve the problem within the family. It is the communication that can solve the problem within the organization, provided it's a communication. It doesn't mean yelling and screaming. That is not communication. Communication is interchange of ideas and things between two people. It's two-way. You have to have an understanding and duplication as to what is being said, and have an empathy what is being said. Don't be judgmental. Try to understand what that person means and simply listen, and care for that individual. That is what's within, your organization. Care for your children's, care for those people you associate with. It's one of the quality, because how would you influence people? You can influence people just by looking at them and smiling, and saying hi, hello, assalamu alaikum, whatever gestures you have. What are those small things you can do on an everyday basis that will influence people? Imagine the father comes in and he smiles at his wife, and he smiles at his children, and he's in communication with his children. And imagine all those influences we are creating now, what kind of a leadership we can have in the future, probably the leadership we deserve. And I believe the only future I can have is the future I create. And I work relentlessly for one reason only. If I would like to have a better leadership, if I would like to have an environment where you don't have any wars or irrationalities or criminalities, and it's the environment I have to create. We are a family. I consider myself the planet Earth human being. We have this bond which cannot be separated. It doesn't matter what religion you were born in. You are part of this dynamic I call humanity, and we have to work on overcome this leadership crisis, which has manifested itself globally, and it has affected people greatly, financially and emotionally, to a great extent. But what can we do today? What can we do today that will bring about a better change in the long run? And we have to continue to embark upon things, within ourselves, within our family, helping your siblings, helping your nephew, nieces, your brother, your sister, your colleagues, and working together in harmony, and have that care factor and caring enough and not to be reasonable about it. Because one of the biggest quality of leadership, I believe, is responsibility. He's not only a self-determined, he's also a pan-determined, where he's also responsible for the people he's surrounded by. And it's that attitude. Responsibility is basically, you are the cause. Whatever happens within your environment, you assume that responsibility, and taking that responsibility for the things you are responsible for and things you can do to change the family, the culture of your organization. What initiative, what things can you do? You have an employee and you go and talk to him, just ask him, hey, how's your day today? Everything is okay? They may be having some hard time, and have that care factor, have that affinity for the people you work with. The change you want to see outside, that change has to come from inside. And have that passion, compassion, and acquire the skills necessary for you to grow yourself, where you start influencing or bringing a positive influence in your immediate environment. And there are so many thought leaders across the globe, which is basically doing tremendous things, to influence people. But it seems like if insanity is going at the rate of 100 miles an hour, in order to tackle it, we have to increase the speed to maybe 110 to reach it. And that's a viewpoint we have to take, how fast we have to move. And a lot more resources needed, a lot more people needs to jump in board and have this mindset, a mindset we can create to bring that eventual change we would like to see. Where we can fill this vacuum of poor leadership and that crisis we are up against, which has put this whole planet in a very polarized condition, where, people are fighting with each other, and this whole beautiful planet we are living on, we have to make this planet a better place. And what we do now, every single day, is going to determine the future you're going to have, because your actions and inaction will determine the kind of future you can have. What skills do you need to acquire for yourself to do better? And all those attitudes you will develop, all those skills you will acquire, will help people to influence in your immediate vicinity. And I'll give this one story. I just remember back in 1988, I was a coach, and I was doing this exercise with one of my students. And we were going out in the street and observing people and talking to people to see their emotional response to certain kind of communication. So while we were walking in those in the streets of Rawalpindi, I still remember there's a place called Asgar Mall. So this one kid came to us, and he was asking for a rupee so he can buy some rusk from the bakery. And asking why you are begging. He was not a beggar. And I said, well, my parents gave me a rupee and I lost that. And since he lost the rupee, that inclined him to start asking for money, from other people he doesn't even know, which we call it a begging. So I've told that kid with my students, okay, we'll go to your house and we'll talk to your parents and, make sure nothing happens. So we started walking our house, and as we went closer to the house, that little kid started crying. I said, what happened? And something interesting came out of that conversation. He said, once I brought these eggs and it fell from my hand and the eggs broke. And I went home and I told my parents that, the eggs broken because they fell, and the parents beat him. Now, what influence that created on that child? Months later, where he lost a rupee and he adopted a begging. What if nobody gave him a rupee? He might steal it. So your action, what you do today, has a ripple effect down the road. And you will pay the price, because the society you are living in, you have to change it for your own survival. If you want this planets to be a better planet, or let's say if the town you're living in, if you want that town to be more sane, so it is something you have to create. That's the future you're going to have, because that's what you're creating by helping the people in your immediate vicinity. So when you help people in your immediate vicinity, so you are not influencing them, but you're also making your own survival easy. I have personal passion, and the area I have decided to influence is the field of education. I found and discovered to be the why of what is happening across the globe. We have an education system that is based on memory and not understanding. And the product, the students we are producing through that education system, and we know how they're behaving and what they are doing and how they are contributing, creating a better society. And it is the one thing I've discovered after a very thorough study and investigation as to, what caused people, to be not effective, not ethical, not compassionate. And I've found the why exists in the education. And I've always brought up the secret in rehabilitating our education system lies in the derivation of the word education from the Latin educare, and educere, I believe, means to bring up, to bring forth, pull up. So it's come from inside out. And this vacuum, which a lot of thought leaders which are trying to fill through soft skills and leadership skills and communication skill, all these skills, these thought leaders are, this vacuum they're trying to fill is the very vacuum created by the education. And that's what is one of my biggest passion, because to start helping those teachers, and then teacher influence those students, and those influence goes out in the world and create a better world. And it's one of my biggest passion to influence that field of which I have a personal passion for. And the reason being, the day my life turned around was the day a course I took called the Learning Book course, which is the art of learning. People if you want to get rich, if you want to know where money is, it's wrapped up in knowledge. And the knowledge is basically wrapped up in this concept of study, how to study and assimilate and understand those information so you can basically apply them to the full concept. And you can that way contribute towards a better society, which I will contribute towards, not because I'm obligated to. I think I'm actually responsible for it. If I'm living in an environment, I think it's my responsibility to make it better, not for myself, for the future generation. And I'm going to continue to do so. I love human beings. I love humanity, and I'll do whatever I can to help in my personal capacity to bring that change, to exert that those action that will cause that change to occur among individuals. Society composed of individuals, and that change starts with the individual. That one person I can change today uh, might change the whole tomorrow. Thank you very much, Dr. Fast, for bringing me up. There's a lot more I can say, and with the time limitation, I'll yield mic over to you.
Thank you very much. Bravo. Thank you. Great job, Jazz Bhai. And I was definitely uh, right at taking my notes, or whatever you told, and not only about how to become a person of influence, but you connected with the communication process. Because, like I said, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Same thing I say for communication is influence, nothing more, nothing less. If you are not influencing through your communications, you are just making noises, but you are not connecting with people. So the real communication happens when you connect with people. And when you connect with people, regardless wherever you are influencing. And if you are not influencing, like I said, you're just making a few noises.
True.
So thank you for that great wisdom and knowledge and information to all of our viewers. And we love to, whatever your passion is, which we heard very well. You want to change the world, you want to change through the individuals. Obviously, individuals are the basic units for our community, and we are the collection of individuals is a society. So if you are trying to change those individuals, we offer you from on the behalf of Learn to Grow Rich and Worldwide Success Academy, which I lead those two organizations. And in my personal capacity, whatever it takes, I will be with you, I will be backing you, and we will do it together. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate it.
Inshallah. Thank you, Dr. Sahab.
Thank you. All right, guys, how we doing? I'm pretty sure that you guys are enjoying this whole conversations, and you are enjoying this session, and you're learning and you're taking notes like I've been doing. I took like 4 papers so far a bit among these two speakers, and I believe you are doing the same way. Uh, our next speaker, if I will start introducing that speaker in detail, probably I'm going to take the whole slot of his speech. So I'm going to summarize his introduction. He is a time investment strategist. He's a very renowned keynote speaker. He's an international trainer. He is an author. He worked, he is a former chairman of, and managing director at Empower Activity Camps. He was the former chairman at Army School of Bareilly, former brigadier general in Indian Army. He worked for Rotary Club. He's worked as a hypnotherapist, and he had so many hats to describe. He studied at National Defense Academy of India. He's a great friend of mine, and he is a great speaker. And really, it's a treat for all of us to learn from him. He has an experience not only of his life, but to lead the people, to command the people. So, how the influence comes in that personality, we can learn not secondhand, right firsthand from him. So, please help me welcome my friend, all the way from South Asia, India, Brigadier Sushil Bhasan. Brigadier Sushil Bhasan, please help me welcome. Brigadier Saab, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Here he is. Thank you and welcome to the stage, and it's my pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Faz. You've been so very kind, and I'm so grateful to you for this wonderful opportunity. My dear friends, I'm so happy to be getting this opportunity to share a few of my thoughts on influencing skills or becoming a person of influence. To begin with, let me tell you that today, when we talk on this subject, majority of the people think, that a great blogger or influencer is a person who has hundreds of thousands of subscribers and things like that, or friends with an audience of thousands of people, and they are very active on posting on social networks. That is not what we are going to be talking about today. That can be another subject. But what I'm going to be talking about is quite in continuation with what Natalie said and what Mr. Ijaz Wani said. I'm going to be quite in the same sequence. And there are a couple of things that they've said which I'll not repeat, but maybe referring to them, as a context setting. First of all, let me begin by saying that communication is the number one skill set on the planet. And as Mr. Ijaz Wani said, that's the only thing with which you can solve problems. And it is a skill that you have to learn. It is not about communicating from the stage. It is not about only communicating from in a boardroom. It is communicating with a rickshawala. It is communicating with a shopkeeper, anyone. It also includes communicating with your children and with your driver or anyone. And you are not able to get the best out of that person in terms of not only gains that you're talking about, but in being able to derive the action that you desire from that person till you have the art of influencing. And that becomes very, very important. So who is an influencer? Let me elaborate that by saying, if I know something and I can transfer that knowledge to you 100%, whatever is my subject knowledge, let's say I talk on yoga or I talk about time, let's say time. Well, that's my subject, time management, right? If I talk to you about investment of time or time consciousness, and you get to understand 100% or close to it of what I meant to say, then I'm a good communicator. There's no distortion. But when I said something and you heard something else, or when you end up listening to people saying, oh, but I thought you said this. You also hear people saying, what I meant to say is. That means in the first place, the listener did not understand what you said. Let me give you a small story, a very small story. I was in the army, and I was sitting in my office one day, and a friend came and dropped in, and he wanted some things from the canteen. Now, I was in a hurry that he gets his stuff and goes so I can do my work. But out of politeness, I couldn't tell him to leave. So he had to be sitting in my office till the stuff came. So I told him, quickly write down on a piece of paper, what all do you want? And whatever he wrote, I called for my stick orderly and said, can you please get this from the canteen? Now, he went and he came back after some time and he salutes and says, Sab, liquor khatam ho gaya. I said, liquor khatam ho gaya? Liquor to humne manga hi nahi hai. Bola nahi sir, aapne bola na jo liquor diya wo leke aa jao. I said, jo likh kar diya wo lekar aa jao. I said likh kar, and he understood liquor. Now, those who understand Hindi will know, or Urdu, you'll know that likh kar means what I have written, and liquor, you know what it means. And for many people, and particularly for army jawans, the word liquor goes into their ears more easily than any other word. So those are the filters we have. So what I understand is not what you said. I'll tell you another thing. When I left the army and started my company, I was the CEO of my company. And I wonder what you know of CEO is. I don't know what you think CEO is, but at that point of time, I was the chief everything officer. So I was a single person. I had a driver. The two of us started that company. My partners were in other cities. So I did my first training with a company called Tata Indicom, and I had to get an invoice sent to them. So I sent the invoice myself. I typed it. I took out a printout. I put it in the envelope, get it to the courier, and it went. Now, after a few days, when I had to pay salary of my driver, and suddenly realized that one invoice hasn't come, the only invoice that we had created till then. So I called up this office and I said, see, I'm Brigadier Bhasin from Empower. What happened to my payment? She said, sir, but we haven't got your invoice. I said, what are you saying? I did it myself. I typed it and I get blah, 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 blah. I blasted and said everything I wanted to say till I exhausted. And this girl on the other end says, sir, now can I say something? I said, yes. She said, sir, I prepare the check when I get the invoice, not when you send it. Exactly what Ijaz said. What you said is not important. What was heard and what was understood is important. And this comes from feedback. Now, if that is a good communication that I have explained to you, who's an influencer? An influencer is the one who inspires action through his communication, which means if I spoke to you on time and you understood time management and next morning you got up and started applying those time management principles in your life, then I am an influencer because I inspired action into you, and not only that you received the knowledge and kept it, maybe in the cupboard, and forgot about it. Then I am a communicator, but I am not an influencer. So let's learn the art of becoming an influencer. And I said, let me start with communication, the number one skill set in the planet. I've got about 10 points. One I've covered. Let me come to the second point. And the second point is being a networker. Now, if you want to influence and you have a key message, I have a key message of being time conscious. I want people to not only learn time management tools, not learn what David Allen and what Eisenhower taught us many years back. It was very relevant then. It is not so relevant now. I want you to understand that, do I think time? Does it become a part of my DNA? Does it become the natural wiring of my subconscious mind? That is, or my brain, sorry. And is my subconscious mind functioning with time in its mind? That is what I'm talking about. Now, to do that, if I want to, I've got this message and I want to spread it to the world, then I also need to be a networker, which means I need to reach a larger set of audience. I want to go to the world. And I'll come to the last point later when I talk about technology. But how have I reached you today? Because of my networking. I go to Clubhouse. I go to a particular club called Nurturing Greatness. And in Nurturing Greatness, I find a wonderful, wonderful person called Dr. Faz Mahmood. And then we start interacting on Instagram. And I say, doctor, can you please come and be my guest on a LinkedIn Live? And he said yes. And in the meantime, he had also asked me, can you come as a speaker on my mini summit? Now, see, that networking is building up, that we've had cross-functional, I'll say, cross-reaching or cross-promoting, reaching each other's number of people that we know. So be a networker. Now, when you are a networker, you also need to know, a lot of people go for networking events and they believe that the number of visiting cards you get or the number of people you get DMs on Instagram or on LinkedIn, you get some comments and likes and you think that is being networking. No, networking is networking for impact. Network with goals. How many people I want, where do I want to reach this with this person in the level of my understanding him. Okay, so this comes from what has already been said about active listening. It is about connecting with people. Connecting with people is not just one message and leave it. It is about nurturing people, nurturing relations. It is about regularly listening to that person and understanding what you really are looking for. So I talk about active listening when it is that you're not responding to, or you're not listening to respond. You are listening to absorb. You're trying to understand where is this person coming from. If you're in a corporate environment, if you have an employee who's telling you something, as a leader, please listen to him with this intention and ask yourself 3 questions. Why is he saying this? There is a root cause. There is something that is disturbing him. There is something that he's feeling about it. What is his feeling? Go down to that root cause of what is his feeling. And once you get that, then you've got his pulse. Second, why is he telling me? Means what does he expect from me? He's not telling anyone else. He's telling me, which means he trusts me, which means he expects that I can solve his problem. And the least I can do to him is to listen and acknowledge and accept that there is a problem there, and then see what can you do to solve it. So if you do active listening like this, you can be a very good networker. Understand people, not only listen to them, not only network with them, understand them. The third point I go to is authenticity. Now this is my favorite. Authenticity. I do not love, and I don't think you will love, people who are different, who have different forms. They talk to different people in different manners. They talk to their bosses differently. They talk to their employees differently. They behave differently, and they mean differently. Authenticity means that you are yourself. What you are, you're portraying the same thing and not a double-faced personality. So that is authenticity. Walk the talk. Say, people should see you that, like when I wrote my first book called Design Your Life, a lot of people told me, so when I was reading that book, I could see you talking, which means they relate to you. He's the same person. He's saying the same thing. What he was saying, what he was behaving like is also written in his book. That is what authenticity is. The fourth thing I will talk about is value. I learned this from Tony Robbins when I did his UPW in Sydney in 2015. And over and over and over again, he said, value. What value are you giving to your audience? What value are you giving to your learners, to your employees, to your family members, to anyone who is in your sphere of influence? What value are you giving them? Value is no value till it solves a problem or gives you a way of doing something easier and better. Value is not what you perceive as value. Value is what that person perceives to be the value, how it helped him or her. So that is what we're talking about, value. Giving is living. That's my mantra. Giving is living. If you give a lot of value, then you're living your life to the maximum or to the optimum that you want to live. The next one is integrity. Now, I don't think I need to explain integrity. It is very self-explanatory, but that was one quality which the Indian Army taught me, and I think all armies in the world teach the same thing, integrity. When I first joined my battalion, my commanding officer said, I will tolerate any mistake of yours as long as it is not related to your integrity. And I understood right there that that is my number one quality I need to not only keep but inculcate it, improve it, make it better, because integrity is everything. Now I come to another one which is very, very important, and that is trust. You need to establish a trust with your followers, a trust with your subordinates, your team members. And if you are an influencer, like say now, let's say I'm in the role of an influencer to a vast unknown audience. I don't know which country, how many countries, how many people are listening to me, I don't know. But I am passing my message to them. Will they trust me? Do they understand that this guy is genuine? So one will be, oh, Dr. Faz recommended him. So because you trust Faz, you will also trust me, because you trust that he would bring a person of repute, integrity, authority, credibility to his seminar. The other would be that when you go through my profile, you listen to what I'm saying, from my body language, from my communication, you get a feeling that yes, I can trust this guy. And authority, which also establishes trust, also comes with being an author, for example. Now, this is my book, $1 Million Second. And this book talks about time investment strategies for the digital age. And after this book has been written, I've been further developing it, and it is there on, I've got about 150 plus videos on YouTube, only to go beyond what this book said. This book, by the way, is also endorsed by Brian Tracy. Coming back to it. So why did I say that? My influencing skills are also, when I tell you, it's not bragging. It is about telling you that it is not just some copy paste or somewhere. It is endorsed by another person whom you will trust, Brian Tracy. And for those who do not know, because I have come across my audiences who said, I don't know who's Brian Tracy. And people in the leadership, people in the learning and development environment will certainly know him. He's an author of 86 books, and he is probably the #1 goal setting and time management guru and a personal development guru in the world. Okay, coming back to trust and confidence. So when I establish trust, trust is a two-way process. Trust is a two-way process. It is how I trust you and how I become trustworthy. Which means, do I trust you? And are my actions worthy of you, making you trust me? If you trust me, you will have confidence in me. And then I will really be able to inspire action, which makes me an influencer. That I'll influence you to take action and do what I intend you to do. And in this case, being time conscious, becoming a time investor, that you invest time and not spend time. You invest time to get returns out of it. Returns are not in money, returns are in quality. Your happiness index, that is what you're talking about. Now, the sad part about trust is that we sometimes trust people blindly, with no reason. I come out of the railway station or the airport, I get in a cab, they are all queued up. So in the cab that is in my turn, I sit in that cab and I tell this driver, Andheri le chalo. I'm in Bombay, so I say Andheri le chalo. वो अंधेरी में ले जाए कि अंधेरे में ले जाए कि खड्डे में डाल दे, how do I know? Did I ask him to show me his driving lessons? I probably trust that he must be having a driving lessons and he's standing in a queue there. Maybe somebody must have checked. But what about if his license was expired and he never renewed it? What if he had been having a lot of drinks last night? What if he has not slept last night? I don't know. I neither know his driving skills nor his mental and physical and emotional state at this time. And I trust my life with him and say, go on. But what happens when my boss calls me to his cabin and I first go and pick up my pen from my table, I don't trust my colleague with my pen, but I trust that cab driver with my life. Developing trust is something which is a very long process. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens with a lot of dedication, a lot of work, and a lot of pain that goes into establishing trust. And I'm sure all of you will agree that it takes years to develop trust, but doesn't take a second to break it. And once trust is broken, it is very, very, very difficult to repair it. And even if it gets repaired, it is never the same. So that is trust. The 8th point I have for this is focus and concentration. If you want to be an influencer, you can be influencing people by a general conduct. That's one thing. But when we are talking about influencing in a technical way, when you want to influence people for action-oriented things, then you need to have an authority. You need to have a niche. You need to have a focus and concentration. Now, when you focus on one thing, like my focus, for example, is on time management. Not that I don't do other things. I do trust also. I do communications also. But my focus, my branding, my influencing is all done through this little thing called time management, time consciousness, time investment. When I had many subjects which I used to teach, my mentor told me that no, you're all over the place. And I still struggle with that because I'm tempted to do a lot of things. He told me narrow down. So if you have 6 subjects that you're into and you eliminate some of them and come to one subject, then it is focus. Focus also means eliminating the unwanted. Just like a sculptor. What does a sculptor do? He scrapes off the unwanted part of a wood, and below that is a nice statue that emerges. That also brings me to the subject of clarity. What is clarity? Clarity is again getting that fog out of your mind, that confusion, that number of options you have in your mind. If you remove them, and that becomes clarity. Let me tell you a small thing that my son is a photographer, a very professional photographer. And he, just a minute, where is it gone? Okay. So one day I asked him, I want to buy a camera which has the mobile which has the best camera. And he recommended that I buy Note 9 because I was using a Note 5 earlier, and I bought this mobile. Now one day I said that I take every picture so carefully. In the army, they used to teach us that when you shoot, you aim and then shoot. When you aim, then you hold your breath so that the rifle doesn't shake, and then you press the trigger. I told him, I also hold my breath. I do everything possible. Still, my picture is not as good as yours from the same camera. And you know what he said? He says, Dad, when was the last time you cleaned the lens? I said, I never do it. He says, there's so much of dust on that. And the first day I understood clarity. Clarity is that this dust which was on the lens was creating a hazy picture. The same haze, that same fog in my mind is creating a clutter which does not let me see clarity. And therefore, clarity is very important. Okay. So that is about focus and concentration. So focus is eliminating the options and coming to one. And then is concentration on that subject. So when I took up the subject of time management, and I have a mentor in UK, you know what he told me? He said, Sushil, now you have to be an expert. So now on time management, go deep. And he said 1 inch wide and 1 mile deep. And in my life till now, I was 1 mile wide and 1 inch deep. I was a jack of all trades. And then he said, he told me the way to go to Google and find out the top 10 time management books of the world. He said, go by the number of people who have read that book or ordered that book, go by general reputation, but pick up 10 top time management books, and they're all lying in front of me here. You bought those books to go deep into that subject so that you can become an authority and you can impart that knowledge that you are influencing people with. That's next point I'm coming to is technology and social media. Now, in the earlier years, there was no social media, there was no technology, and still people influenced. There were leaders, military leaders, politicians, sports people. They influenced people a lot. But they had some limits. Today, the world has opened up because of technology and because of social media, that if you are an influencer and if you're not on social media the right way, and you don't know which platform suits you, which platform your target is on, and how are you going to reach out to them, then you may lose out on the type of influence you can create. So you may end up influencing 60%, 70%, 50% of the people you could have influenced if you knew the right technique, the right technology, the right social media platforms. The last point that I want to give you, and these are the 10 points I've got. The 10th point is proximity is power. This is something which I learned from Sam Cawthon. He's another mentor of mine. Proximity is power. You are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. If you want to be an influencer, I will hang out with people like Dr. Faz. I'll hang out with people like Sam Cawthon. I will hang out with people who are good influences on me, because as Faz also said, he said a lot of things the same. He said, I must first influence myself and then only can I influence people. So I must get influenced by people whom I appreciate, whom I want to be like. And therefore, I'll also tell you another rule of 33. Rule of 33 is that when you talk of proximity, you should have in your circle of influence 33% people whom you look up to, you want to become like. And so that could be something like Brian Tracy for me and all that. They are people who I look up to. 33% people should be of your peers, that you want to hang out with these people who give you that value, whom you can exchange ideas with. And 33% people should be whom you can help come to your level, who are looking up to you. So this is a way that you can learn to be a good influencer. So with that, I will end by saying that I would like to quote John Maxwell, and we started with him when he said, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And he also has in another quote said, as you work to gain more influence, always remember that your goal is not to get people to think more highly of you, it's to get them to think more highly of themselves. The focus in your life should be the person, what type of result I am going to produce out of this person I am trying to influence. And when the focus goes from me to you, then I will always be a good influencer. Thank you. I'm Brigadier Sushil Bhasin. I'm so grateful to you for listening to me, and I'm very, very fortunate. Thank you very much, Dr. Faz. Thank you very much to each one of you who have invested their, 20, 25 minutes on listening to me. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brigadier Sushil. It was a pleasure and honor for us to have you here and listening from you and learning firsthand from you. And you are a true leader. You are a serving leader. And again, what a wisdom. And the problem is now for me, speaking after you, is a challenge because we echo each other all the time. So, I say between Ijaz and you, 78% of my speech is already gone. But no worries.
If I may just intercept and say that the other day when we did the LinkedIn live, I could not even come across one thing that you said which I was not resonating with or agreeing with. And I told you that.
And believe me or not, that's the same situation I've been going through, but it's okay. It's a good way to tell our audiences that the facts are facts and realities are realities. We are not trying to mislead. So every thought leader here who has some study on this subject is going to say pretty much similar things.
Yeah.
And that's going to be authenticate. According to you, the authentication is going to come from there when somebody and third party assurance is going to be there from each other. So thank you very much for giving such a great lesson to all of us, and I believe all people were taking the notes, and I was just trimming my notes because a lot of things which I already wrote that. So thank you very much. And uh, now, because due to some unexpected issues, our fourth speaker, Mr. Rizwan Rashid, fifth speaker, couldn't join us yet. I don't know if he's been joining in next few minutes or not. So let me get started myself. And in the meantime, if he shows up, we will also add in him too. But I know he just sent me a message that he has some unexpected issue at somebody showed up at his home or something happened. So anyway, life moves on. We can't stop. We can take a pause. So thank you very much, Brigadier Sushil. Just we are honored, and I truly appreciate your participation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, now it's my turn because our other speakers didn't show up, Mr. Rizwan Rashid, but hope he will be showing up very soon. So let's talk about this subject. This is a very close to my heart. How to become a person of influence. First of all, like we said, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Same thing, communication is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So how important is that for our life? And how we can become a person of influence? There are certain things which I would like to share with you, which Brigadier Sushil already did, a lot of great things. And I'm going to echo most of the things, and also I'll add on a couple more things. And if you are ready, I'm ready to go. So, first of all, let's understand what influence means to you. To me, my definition is influence mean to me is life has so much dominion that even death cannot destroy it. That's what you leave as a legacy, even if you die, because your influence speaks is still there. A lot of time what happens, we confuse influence with our popularity, which is not true. Because influential people not necessarily popular, but they are impactful. So make sure, are we making any impact on people? That's how influence is going to get started. Now there are certain things we have to learn about influence, because sometimes people, they come to us as a speaker, as a trainer, as a coach, where we go, and they say that, oh, you are a special person. That's not true, my friends. That's not true. Every human being was created by God to be an influencer on this earth. Every human being, most of them die and never influence their neighborhood. That's why you can find the best speaker, best coaches, best trainers, best musicians, best author, best actors, best writers, you name it, best IT gurus in graveyard, because they couldn't even bring it to the world. They didn't share. They couldn't bring the influence in their neighborhood. Because the only inheritance that a man will, that has an eternal value, is which we are going to leave after us, is the influence. whatever we are going to build here. So let me take you to this journey, and I will go through what are the most important ingredients of influence you have to have. So a person of influence has to have, or like Brigadier Sushil said, to me, which is at the top list, Brigadier Sushil has probably on the sixth or seventh, that the integrity, like he said, and I'm going to echo that. Because if you don't have an integrity, you cannot influence people. Don't assume that people cannot see you. People can see through you. And if you have no integrity, people will see through you. And you are not going to build any influence in that. So what does it need to build integrity? And that's your character. The character. Integrity is not determined by your circumstances. Integrity is not based on your credentials. It's by your character. And character comes from who you are. Most of the time, again, like I said, we confused influence with the popularity. So influential people, not necessarily popular, they are impactful. So make sure you are making impacts in your surrounding, on the people you deal with, you work with. So how we can build this character, that's a very, very important subject to discuss. Trust can only develop when people trust you all the time. It's not a partial thing. Either you are trustworthy or not trustworthy. So you have to make sure your character has to be that strong that people can trust all the time. So employ honest communication, value transparency, demonstrate your support to others, fulfill your promises, embrace an attitude of service. All these things will build your character. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. Don't lie so you have to remember what you said. And character comes from your habits, which you develop in your life. And habits come from your actions, which you do in your life. So make sure when you start the whole process, you build the right habits, which is going to become your character. And that character is going to indicate your destiny. So build your character, and then people are going to trust you and you will become a trustworthy. The second thing I would like to tell about the influence, how to become a person of influence, is a person of influence nurtures other people, like Brigadier Sushil said. People must be cared for, not just physically, but emotionally. You cannot antagonize and influence at the same time. Like John Knox said, this is a great quote you have to remember. A nurturing influencer is always a giver, like Brigadier Sushil also emphasized on that, and Nijaz did that. Be a giver, not a taker. But when you become a giver, who is the ultimate giver in this universe? It's God, regardless whatever we name him. Somebody say Bhagwan and God and Allah or Jesus or whatever you name it. He is the ultimate giver. So when you do the same thing, you automatically turn into the agent of that God. And God will bless you with way more than you need so you can pass on, because you are a giver and you're doing as an agent for him. So when you become an agent of God, you automatically become an influencer in this society. And the second thing which you have to learn as a nurturer in the society, love. Everyone needs to feel valued. You have to value them, like Brigadier Sushil said. Then, second thing, you have to give them respect, because all people respond to respect. So make sure you respect people. Then you give them sense of security. Always do what is right. So they can think, can I trust you? So the answer is always yes. Are you committed to them? Are you giving them recognition for their good work? So make sure you do all those things. Let me give you a quote of William Ward, which I love it. That flatter me and I may not believe you. Criticize me, I may not like you. Ignore me, I may not forgive you. Encourage me, I will never forget you. So always encourage people. And that's how you are going to nurture others. So, how to become a natural nurturer? It's a skill you have to learn, but let's see how we can learn. So, what we have to do is there are few very common things which we have to do. Number one is commit to them, then believe in them, then be accessible to them, and give it no string attached, expect nothing in return. Be selfless, not be selfish. Give them opportunities, lift them to a higher level. That's how they can feel that you are nurturing them and you will be turning into an influencer to them. Now, the third thing which I will go on this journey, like I said, a person of influence has a faith in people. Faith in people, like Brigadier Sushil definitely elaborated on that. I'm not going to go too much in detail because we are echoing most of the stuff. But faith in people is an essential quality of an influencer. When working with others, you have to remember 4 facts about faith. Most people don't have faith in themselves. That's the major issue. Then there is another. Most people don't have someone who has faith in them. And then most people can tell when someone has a faith in them. And they will attempt the impossible if you demonstrate faith in them. So once you demonstrate, they will be dying for you because you are going to be such an influencer. And what is faith is? Faith is belief in action. Faith is more thinking something is true. That's all faith is. Faith is thinking something is true to the extent what we act on it. Not just we believe in it. We have to act on it. That's called faith. Not just believing, okay, that's not good enough. So that's about faith. So the next point, which I would like to highlight about how to become a person of influence, is a person of influence listen to the people. Because listening shows respect. Like Brigadier Sushil said about communication, which is the same thing. Because communication is a two-way skill, my friends. Speaking and listening. Speaking is sharing, listening is caring. People don't care how much do you know, but people do know how much do you care. And that's why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. So you have to build this habit to listen twice, then you speak. Listening builds relationships. Listening increases your knowledge. Listening generates ideas. Listening builds loyalty. And listening is a great way to help others and yourself. So everything comes from listening. So why we can't do that? And if you can, you will be an influencer. Or I can give you a breakdown, which was Brian Adam, the author of Sales Cybernetics. He gave this formula that in our waking hours, we spend most of it in listening. For example, he said 9% of the day is spent in writing, according to him. 16% of the day we spent in reading. And according to his formula, 30% of the day is spent in speaking, while 45% of the day is spent in listening. So if you adopt that formula, he's one of the most successful author and writer and a speaker. You will be in his shoes, and obviously you will turn into an influencer like himself. So I will give you a few suggestions to help you to become a better listener, because I'm a communications and trainer and tutor, you can say, or teacher, whatever you say. So I love to explain that. And this is a very common question I get all the time in my seminars and trainings and all that. Sir, I have this issue. I can't be a good listener because that's by my nature. I can't just shut up and I don't listen carefully. And while you are speaking to me, I'm thinking my next questions to you, kind of thing. So let me give you a few tips. Number one, look at the speaker and don't interrupt. Focus on understanding, not just on listening. Focus on understanding and determine the need at the moment. What's the need of that moment is? And then check your emotions. People get emotional when somebody speaks. What is emotion? Emotion is nothing, my friends. It's energy in motion. So make sure keep your energy down so it doesn't come in motion and then you start responding and showing your emotions right there. Suspend your judgment. Be open-minded. Okay? Open your mind. Listen to someone. You may not know before whatever he is going to tell or she is going to tell you. So be open-minded and don't judge people. First, you have to listen to them carefully and then sum up at major intervals. When he gives you a chance, when he takes a pause, that's the time you have to sum up. Then ask questions for clarity, like Brigadier Sushil said, Ijaz Bhai said. Clarity is the key, and always make listening a priority. I was a worse listener, and still sometime I just cross my limits. So I put my rubber band here. And honestly, when I've been speaking with someone or we have a conversation and somebody's telling them anything, I pull my that rubber band. So shut up, shut up, shut up myself. So I don't want to interrupt. I don't want to talk while he's talking. Then another next point on my how to become a person of influence is a person of influence understands people. You have to understand people because if you can't understand people and work with them, you can't accomplish anything in your life. The ability to understand people is one of the greatest assets anyone can ever have. But why people fail to understand others? That's a question. There are two reasons I see, which is very major, which I feel. Number one is the fear. And what is fear is usually based on lack of understanding because we don't try to understand. So that's why we get this fear. And then again, very, very, very popular and most common mistake which we make and we couldn't make as an influencer in our life is because we are so self-centered. This is not something we do on purpose, but sometimes people have this habit and they have a more like self-centered and tunnel vision, and that's why they get confused. But what we have to do, what our priorities should be in dealing with others. So let me give you a formula. The least important word is I. Least important. And the most important word you should have is called we. There's another two word, most important words you have to remember is called thank you. The three most important words you have to memorize yourself is all is forgiven. All is forgiven. And the four most important words, what is your opinion? Ask people, get them involved so they can feel that they are also involved in the process, and then they will see you as an influencer. The five most important words: make a habit to say that, and that is, you did a good job. You did a good job. And the 6 most important words you can say as your routine, that I want to understand you better. When you show your interest for understanding someone else, they see you as a leader, as an influencer, and they love you and they respect you. So that's my next point. Let's move on to a person of influence always enlarges people. As a leader, as an influencer, that is your job and that should be your duty, to enlarge them. Don't focus on yourself. Make sure you're enlarging others. You're focusing on others. Then next, I say an influencer or a person of influence, what he does, he navigates for other people. You know, everyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader and influencer to navigate the course. Why not you? Why you don't navigate for them? So try to navigate for others, not yourself. A person of influence connects with people, like we say, networking, like Brigadier Sushil said. Wow. I mean, your network is your net worth, like Ijaz Bhai said. So a person of influence connects with people. That's how you're going to build your influence. Because where you're going to influence, well, people are not. Like if somebody claims that he is a leader and he turns around and he sees nobody is following him, he's just taking a walk. He's not an influencer. He's not a leader. So connecting enables others to travel to a higher level. So make sure you're taking to a journey to the next level, because you navigated the course for them. You also enlarging them. You're encouraging them. So how we can influence people? Make sure you mentor people. If you know something, you mentor people. What we are doing today in this session with these great leaders, thought leaders, Brigadier Sushil, Ajaz Vani, Natalie, we are trying to mentor people. The things which we have already done. We don't want you to make the same and those mistakes which we already made. We wasted our energy, we wasted our money, we wasted our time into that. We want to protect you by losing those things again. So that's mentoring. So a person of influence reproduces. The last part, it's a very important part. You have to reproduce more influencers. That should be the biggest purpose of your life. Like Ijaz Bhai said, like Brigadier Sushil said. Ijaz Bhai has a big this purpose and passion to spread this whole educational system which he's dreaming for. But we know the dream will come true. How? If we are going to build influence on others and we are going to mentor them, we are going to navigate the whole course for them, things will happen. Same thing, Brigadier Sushil. He trains you, he teaches you about time investment, how he strategizes your time, how to become a successful person. He's reproducing other leaders. And when you reproduce, you don't add anything to the society, but you explode, you multiply. So when you are giving a multiplication effects, it's not just an addition, it's a multiplication. You're bringing more leaders to this world, which we need so badly. We are going through this challenge where we are lacking all. The only thing which we are lacking, we have all the resources, we got enough technology to handle, but we don't have leaders to lead. We are lacking that leadership. So this is the most significant stage of influence. Here are some of the benefits of creating leaders in your organization. I'll give you a few tips. Why you need to reproduce leaders, I'll give you some reasons. Reproducing leaders raises your influence to a new level, my friends. Reproducing leaders raises the new leader's personal potential. Reproducing leaders multiplies the resources which you have right now. Reproduces leaders ensures a positive future for your organization, for your community, for your country, wherever. Who do you want to serve, even as a family unit? So if you reproduce those same talented people like yourself, or even better than yourself, always think better than yourself, not even just. So you will see a great explosion in the growth of your society, in your country, in your community, wherever you are. So, my friends, most of the stuff which we discuss, whether Ejaz, Vani, or Brigadier Sushil, you will see a lot of most of the stuff is common, but these are the realities of influence. Facts cannot be changed. We are going to talk because make sure we are trying to convey the right message, and right message is the right message. We cannot just alter it, we cannot modify it, because truth is truth. We don't want to lie, so we have to remember what we said. That should be our character as a leader. So I would like to thank you everyone for joining us. It was just a pleasure to listen those thought leaders, especially Brigadier Sushil and Ijaz Bhai and Natalie. They gave us a great, like golden nuggets, really, which we learned from them. And I believe you learned a lot and you took the notes. And in case if you couldn't take the notes, this video is still going to be available on YouTube and our Facebook pages. You can re-listen as many times you want to listen, and make sure take the advantage. These thought leaders, we brought it to you. Don't take it granted. You know, it's not easy to take somebody's time, 30, 45, 50 minutes of that caliber. It costs thousands of dollars in North America, believe me or not. We paid the prices when we went through those processes. You are lucky and grateful to the God. Don't complain about the COVID-19 and all that. This is the COVID-19 who, in those adverse situations, you got those opportunities to listen these thought leaders without paying anything. But again, there is no free lunch outside. I still respect you invested your time, you invested your great moments of your life, which you're not going to get back in your life. And that was a great trade off. So make sure you always have this abundance mindset. Be a giver, not to be a taker. Whatever you learn today is not only for you. Please pass on to others. Try to help others. Try to pass your influence to others and make them influencer in your life and in the other community people. I truly appreciate my both friends. I'm going to bring them on screen right now so we all can say goodbye to all of you. Thank you very much. This is the whole panel right here. And thank you very much for participation. Any last words by Brigadier Sushil first?
No, I think it's been covered so well. And, we had no coordination. I didn't know what you were going to say. I didn't know what Ijaz is going to say. But it so happens that we were talking the same language.
Of course.
And that was really good. I mean, somebody asked me, what is the new miracle? I said, this is a miracle. This is a miracle that three people talking without any coordination just told a subject, just one line, how to be an influencer. And we are all talking the same language.
No, these are the facts. And these are, when you get authentication by like three different people from three different parts of the world sitting miles and miles and miles apart from each other and speaking the same language, makes that this is the reality.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny, Dr. how it works, and this is the one thing actually that changed my life. That this concept of being in communication and being out of communication, and you both have mentioned the two words One of the words were the integrity and honesty, and which I have discovered to be true. The person being losing his personal integrity and not being honest goes out of communication. And as a personal coach, 1 out of 1, every individual I've spoken with on a personal level, it was their personal integrity being compromised, and it's their honesty brought them out of communication, not only with themselves, but with their children, with their spouses, with their workspace. And this principle is so powerful because the only place you have to look, and I tell this, the only place you have to look is in the mirror.
Of course.
If you can look in the mirror and answer the question, what I did was right or wrong, and you are the only one who can answer it. And if you did something wrong, let's say the entire universe doesn't know it, but you do. And that's where you get into this whole trap and it gets more introverted and sucked into your thoughts instead outside. So for individuals to get extroverted, so he has to be connected and in communication with the outside world. And he has to use all those principles just being communicated. Contact any one of us, send us a DM, send us a message, whatever help you guys need. Just send us a message and we will respond. Anything we can do to help, the help we will give you is the help you're going to pay forward to generations.
Thank you. Thank you. And folks,
I just add one thing.
yeah, please, please.
I just remembered, Dr. Fazil just talked about being a giver and not a taker. And I said the same thing for many, many years. So last year in February, I was in Dubai for a training, and there's another speaker who spoke. I was doing a training program. He came for a keynote or something. And he asked people, he said, how many of you are givers? And I raised my hand with so much of confidence. And he said, how many of you are takers? And very few people raised their hands. And then he said something which got me thinking. He said, you cannot be a giver without being a taker. You have to first take, only then can you give. And he says, learn to start taking, because take to give. And then I realized that, yes, what he's saying is right. It's something, and he explained further. He said, you can't say I breathe out and I don't breathe in. If you don't breathe in, you can't breathe out. So it is something like that. So yes, I changed my, there's only been 1.5 years since I changed from saying that I am a giver. Yes, I believe in giving a lot, but I also then realized that I have to focus on accepting and taking when it comes to me. So now from the three of you, Natalie and the two of you, there's so much I have taken, and whatever I knew and whatever were my notes, they have already been added with your notes. Some of them I knew, like for example, you said one important word, two important words. Yeah, I knew that. Some others I knew, but some things came as a either something new comes as a piece of knowledge, and sometimes it comes, you have heard it before, but you saw it in a different perspective. So that is how taking is also as important as giving. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that is true. And that's why we do most of the time, these thought leaders, all my friends, I usually ask them to come with me, and so we can do a little bit masterminding here.
Mastermind, yeah.
We can learn the different perspective for the same subject. And today, that's why we didn't have a collaboration or coordination. Why? Because I want to come without coordination. It's not a prefabricated seminar. We are coming from our own perspective, and we want to give people different perspective on the same subject and see how many common things we come up with. Those are the real golden nuggets for everyone, because now they can say it's unauthenticated because everybody thinks in the same way. These are the realities. These are the true facts we cannot deny. So that's how. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is what I took from the Brigadier, and I don't know how the audience has perceived that. When you're thinking 1 inch wide and 1 mile deep, I want you to take this word integrity
Mm-hmm.
Consider it's a 1 inch.
Yeah.
And go a mile deep into this one concept.
Yes.
And when you will come out of it, instead of going 1 mile deep into so many different things, and just have an apparent understanding of those concepts, because go deep into those concepts and you will come out a wise man. That was a beautiful thing you narrated.
Yeah.
Being interested in math, I said, well, 1 inch wide, 1 mile deep, instead of 1 mile wide and 1 inch deep. It just was a beautiful concept for
It is.
me.
Yeah. It
I
is.
always take something in from conversations.
Somehow I have used that line also so many times.
I know it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
But for a different subject, not exactly on this, but
I'm saying it's the same concept.
yeah, but yeah, the concept was actually, but a lot of my followers who are watching, they heard it before. So obviously, it was a great line, and honestly, it's a true fact.
Yeah,
Don't be a master of all, jack of all and master of none. Just be the master of whatever you know, and be authenticated on that subject. If you don't know enough, just get more information and knowledge or whatever you want to, and learn from others, and go and find a great mentor who has already done, and he's going to walk you through. So thank you very much again. I truly appreciate. And viewers, we will be back. We come every month with some new subject, and you will see these great thought leaders again. Hopefully, if they are not tied up, I will pull them or push them, whatever it needs to be done. As a friend, I will try my level best to bring them back. And if you have any question or you want to reach out to them, make sure they are on all over the social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Wherever you go, you can find both of these guys, and also Natalie. So please just connect with them and follow them. And we are always on Clubhouse, all three of us, most of the days. So feel free to follow us there, and make sure we always have different clubs which we run on Clubhouse. You can join there, you can participate there, you can ask your questions through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So just be curious, ask questions, and we are here to help you, we are here to support you. uh, that's our passion is, that's our purpose is. God bless you all, thank you very much. With this, we are going to sign off. God bless you, my friends. Thank you.